Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to Awakening Stories, a reading of the poetry and creative nonfiction from the Yellow Arrow Vignette series. My name is Siobhan McKenna, and I have been working with Yellow Arrow since January 2020 as an editorial assistant, interviewer, and most recently curator of the Yellow Arrow Vignette. The vignette started as a project to increase the amount of voices whose stories are told from our community and to publish them directly online. We landed on the name vignette for this series because literary vignettes are known to be pieces of writing that depict brief but highly detailed moments in time. Through the Yellow Arrow Vignette, we look to share vibrant and poignant glimpses into the lives of our writers and hope that these stories shared with you today, when viewed as collective, tell an expansive and inclusive narrative. Yellow Arrow Publishing is a publishing company based in Baltimore that supports and inspires writers and identifying as women through publication and access to the literary arts. Women's voices have historically been underrepresented in literature, and we aim to elevate those voices and stories through our programs and publications. Some of our programs include workshops, open mic nights, and our writers' virtual residency, which recently concluded. The residency writers put together a book that is available now called I Want to Love You, Baltimore. In addition, we also publish several poetry chapbooks each year and release a biannual literary journal in the spring and fall. Thank you again to our speakers and our audience members for showing your support for Yellow Arrow Publishing and being here today. We truly appreciate it. Now we're going to begin our reading with our first speaker, Maggie Flaherty, reading her poem, Tacoma. Maggie?
All right. Shall I just jump in?
Yes. Well, first introduce yourself. Say
Okay.
what city you're from, and your current city, and perhaps one of your a recent work that's been grabbing your attention, just to create a little bit of intimacy, and we can share our ideas among each other.
Okay. Hi, I'm Maggie Flaherty. I live in Tacoma Park, Maryland, and I'm currently reading Roberto Colasso's The Book of Books, which is an amazing work about the Hebrew Bible. And, you know, I'm very, very interested in climate issues, and that's what prompted this particular poem. So I'll just jump right into the poem.
Thanks so much.
Tacoma. On the side of a Lutheran church, a dozen
Maggie, can you just stop one moment and unmute yourself? I think it was muted.
my awareness. Can you hear me now?
Yes, just start over
Okay.
from the beginning. Thank you so much.
Okay, all righty. Hi, I'm Maggie Flaherty. I live in Tacoma Park, Maryland. I'm a retired attorney. And I'm currently reading Roberto Colasso's The Book of Books, which is about the Hebrew Bible. It's amazing. The poem that I'm going to read, Tacoma, is about something that I think about a lot, which has to do with climate change. So here we go. Tacoma. On the side of a Lutheran church, a dozen dahlias, 5 purpled heads, 7 rusty reds on spindled stems. In the corner, against rough brick and crumbled mortar, a few ragged sports lift yellow spikes, stamened pikes thrust from yellow moats and parched leaves. Hidden there, 2 old bees, dinged wings back, drag rear legs, hair combs laden with pollen for the queen's half-dead entourage. Why am I squatting here, triaging dahlias? Far off, fires burn. Cascades, canyons crisp and curl. This very morning, I looked for Mount Rainier's snowy stinger, pricking the line between sky and firs that ascend the mountain's flanks in search of melt. Or so I imagine. my lungs catching on cinder fragments, cloaking the mountain view, choking my sore villi, like bees' legs, assemble in a thickness hard to describe. Air so heavy, only short words escape, nearly breathless. Awake, awake. The closer I look, the more I see this earth, this present moment, burning. Where's a gust of healing rain, a soothing wind that lifts or sets us down gently?
Thank you, Maggie. Beautiful. Great. We're going to have Sara go next for her short piece, Closure.
Can you hear me okay? Good. My name is Sara Davis, and I live in Philadelphia. And I just finished reading The Employees by Olga Ravin, which is a sort of sci-fi prose poetry book that I'm definitely going to immediately reread. Tonight, I'm going to be reading my short piece Closure, which is inspired by an image that kept haunting me after the abrupt and unceremonious end of a long-term relationship 2 years ago. Although I am happy to say that in writing it, it seemed to provide what the title promises. So thank you for listening. This is Closure. What thoughts might have unspooled in his mind the last time he held the key to my front door? What orchestra might have swelled on his inner soundtrack for that moment, I cannot know. But I think there ought to have been a highlight reel of our life flashing before his eyes, scene after scene of locked tumblers turning and doors opening into the amber glow of my kitchen, and onto the hushed landing of my old apartment, and into the cramped hallway of the place I lived when we met. And each time there's the crunch of the key in the lock and his step on the tile and his voice lilting, "Hey," like a doorbell. And no matter where I am, starting dinner, finishing work, lying inert with fatigue in a pile of unfolded laundry, I call out to greet him. And that little hello song sounds like completeness, sounds like home. I can picture my house key and his blunt fingers, which would drum when he had music on his mind, that would be warm on my wrist when he passed on his way in to drop a kiss on my shoulder or neck. But I cannot guess when he knew it would be the last time, or with what regret or relief he let go. After all, love is a very heavy thing to carry. In so many years of letting him in, it was like having a second self almost. What's mine is yours, I used to say. Only how unknowable is another's mind in the end? Because when he held my key for the last time, it was to drop it into a garbage bin, out of sight and into all the unspeakable junk of the city. And he did not say why or what he had done until I asked for it back, and it was already gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara. That was beautiful. All right, we're going to have Valerie Wong go next and read her piece, Wet Season Sunset Patrol.
Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Wong, and I'm a poet and novelist based in New York City. So recently, I have been reading the last governor of Hong Kong's memoirs. I guess I'm feeling a little bit homesick because I haven't been back in almost 3 years at this point. So that's what piqued my interest. I'm going to be reading a poem called Wet Season Sunset Patrol, which is inspired by recent vacation to Hawaii. Hope you enjoy. Sitting on the lanai as the sun begins its downward arc, feeling in command of my life. Time oozes like Manoa honey. The sun is cradled by clouds of freshly shorn wool, pierced with streaks of spun gold, its daily descent minute and breathtaking. In a matter of moments, the heavens are ablaze, lit from beneath, hearkening to another world. As the glowing yolk drops into the ocean, my eyes are bathed in a gradient of powder pinks, softening to lavender. The sky gathers every shade of color. Periwinkle haze dissolves into inky midnight blue. In coming here, I've given myself the gift of time. I am suffused with peace, soaking up every last drop. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Valerie. All right, Kerry, would you like to read Reminder?
Of course, now that I have my cat. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy you're here tonight. I'm Kerry. I am a teacher in Baltimore, and the piece I'm about to share is about teaching. I write vignettes about my students, who I call my lovelies. And actually, It was a piece that I had already written and I was trying so hard to revise to get right. So when I saw this call for submissions, I was like, yes, this is the time. So this worked out perfectly. Oh, and as for what I'm reading recently that is really striking, basically anything by Frederick Backman. I don't know how to say it. He's Swedish and he's amazing. And grief has been a very big part of my life the last year. And he secretly writes about grief, but you don't know it's going to be about grief, and it always is. So anyway, here is Reminder. I am home again and at last. My time away, traveling, reading, napping, was the weeks-long massage my spirit required. But being here in hallways lined with lockers and rooms crammed with desks reminds me of how giddiness feels. Even without my students, my lovelies, here yet. They don't come until next week, after we've prepared for their arrival. For the first 10 minutes, 15, 20, I scurry between colleagues. I hug some and squeal, "Happy New Year" to all. The closer I get to my classroom, the clearer it is. I'm ready. Nudging my door open, I step into, on, among stillness. My eyes wander within the room's four walls, where my lovelies and I will make another year's worth of memories, magic, mistakes. I move into the room and follow the same path as any other morning. Plug in the fans at the front of the room, knot the curtains covering the windows along the far wall, opening wide each window, then move to the back of the room, where I plug in those fans. Next, I dismantle the stacks of desks and chairs in my classroom's corner, back and forth, one by one, until every lovely has a place to sit. I look around at each spot, remembering former lovelies who have sat there, imagining the new ones who will. I smile. Then I step toward my bookshelf for my favorite part, uncovering the books that all summer have been shielded. Tenderly, I peel back the butcher paper, welcoming the weary yet willing spines back into the sunlight. Speak, Monster, Loser. Tall and together, dozens of books stand, ready to be of service. I breathe in the words that will nourish the lovelies this year, grateful to every author who dared to put them to paper. My mind is on my next task when I notice something in the corner. I reach for it behind my bookshelf. A single piece of paper, bent, covered in dust and dirt. As I place it on the desk closest to me and wipe it clean, I recognize which lovely's handwriting this is. Immediately, I recall the assignment, a poetry template I use annually, but don't remember having read his. I am from Gunshots. I am from Hard to Make It to 21. I am from Dead End. I am from Football. I am from What Are We Going to Eat Tomorrow? I am from Don't Trust Nobody. I am from Have to Make It Out of the City. I am from Smoke in the Hair. I close my eyes to the room that moments ago I've been so eager to get ready. Sighing, I realize why I never read his poem before. He never finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. I know that is a especially powerful poem, and thank you for all your work and all teachers. It's a exciting but also difficult time of year, I know. And I've been reading Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, so it's great. He's great. All right, Martha, would you like to go next with your lovely poem, Carson McCullers?
Hi, I'm Martha Klein Henrickson. I live in Ontario, about 2 hours north of Toronto. I was born in Brooklyn, lived in San Francisco, and then Toronto, and here I am. I've been rereading a lot of books lately, and one that I've always liked and read a few times is called Visitation by Jenny Erpenbeck. It's a very beautiful book. The entire book feels like a poem to me. It's worth reading. And what I'm going to read was inspired by, well, the whole memory of it came back when I have a cousin from Chicago, my cousin Arlene, who was my mentor when I was 15. And I would visit her in Chicago. And she had many books, and she was also a poet. And she died this past year. And before she did, I had written this poem and sent it to her. And I was very happy how excited she was to hear it, since it happened in her house that I found this book. So I will read it. I have to read it, though. I can't remember. Carson McCullers. Carson McCullers was the first writer to touch me. I was 15 on a muggy day in Chicago, like today. The still heat pounding the pavement, carpeted halls heavy, back porches full of interest for me, only for my only knowing New York mind. I became Frankie, full of vanilla, innocence, and curiosity. My first taste of something else was going to happen as screen doors banged gently on wooden frames. Exploring unfamiliar streets in neighborhoods with odd names, drinking pop, pulling an invisible wagon, I discovered myself walking alone and happy in a Chicago that turned into a hot southern place and is still in my memory between humid breaths now. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I remember first reading that, and I'm one of the few people who love summer nights when you can go out at midnight and still feel the humidity, and I could just feel that.
Very summer.
Very summer, very beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next poet is going to be Rebecca Brock and reading Bora Peak Earthquake, 1983.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. My name's Rebecca Brock. I live in Leesburg, Virginia, not too far from Baltimore or DC, right kind of in the middle. A book I'm reading right now, a friend of mine just put a book out called Soul Culture, and it's about her experience as a Black poet, and she interviews Lucille Clifton and Sonia Sanchez, and it's beautiful if you have a chance to pick it up. My poem, I'm working on a manuscript about distance and loss and geography, and in writing that, this memory of this true earthquake came to me. So my poem is called Bora Peak Earthquake, 1983. They didn't mean to frighten me. I was 8 and thought my thick-lensed, pink-rimmed glasses had gone off. The earth solid, but also liquid. The grown-ups at a loss. Our parents already at work, my little sister and I at the neighbors, the man hollering at us to get outside, the woman shouting at us to stay, because the ground might open wide, might swallow us. And I saw how their driveway would crack like a prehistoric egg of soil and stone. Again, my sister called, again, thinking it fun, the ride of it, the shake the earth was giving us, like a horse losing patience with the bridle or the buzzing bodies of the flies. I didn't know then how it always feels like that when you are grown. The push to stay and shelter in place, or the pull to venture out, to take the risk of street and sky. All along your indecision, the solidness of things shifting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Whenever I read your poem, just how you bring everything together at the end with just saying that is humanity, that is adulting, the solidness of things shifting. Can't escape it. So thank you. All right, our next poet's going to be Nancy Huggett, reading I Am Full of Milk and Walking.
Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm so happy to be here with all this great company. Like I read all the pieces as they came out, but to hear them read aloud is just wonderful. So thank you for that. I live in Ottawa, Canada, on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. And right now I am reading, well, there's two things. I think, Rebecca, you mentioned, so I'm reading the collected poems of Lucille Clifton right now that I took out of the library. And quite honestly, I'm going to have to buy the whole thing because I keep like dipping in and out and reading it out loud to anybody who will listen to me. So I'm just enjoying all that work. But I'm also reading Late Migrations by Margaret Rankle. And it's a natural history of love and loss. And they're all really short pieces. Sort of environmental pieces, memory, memoir. And I love the way that they're put together. And I'm pretty good at reading short pieces these days, not very good at reading long things. The poem I'm about to read was written in a workshop with Catherine Petricelli. It was a workshop on writing the body. And obviously you can tell by my gray hairs, this is remembering and going back and putting myself in a position after my daughter was born. So hope you enjoy it. I am full of milk and walking down Florence Street, past trees and cars and neighbors' cats let out in sunshine, jaunty almost, untethered for a moment, breasts brimming sustenance, fortitude, love, like the liver and onions my mother fed me when I cried last night after feeding my daughter, hormones frantic, figuring out their flow. Mothers know, liver, milk, a lick of spit to make things right. I stride, eyes bright from sleepless nights and this thin slice of freedom, until the call from up the scaffolding, the bark and whistle of the brawn looking down at me all full and round and ripe. Affronted, I pull up short. I am a mother, I shout into the clouds of steel, a mother proclaiming the new order of things. Then march along, sure of having put them in their place, as mine has changed, and so my view of every little thing.
Thank you, Nancy. I love the fierceness and the gentleness in that poem. And I have a sister who's listening right now, and she's expecting any day now. So I'm sure is going to take your poem to heart and be just as fierce when she delivers. So thank you. Our next poet is Savannah Cooper, reading Tattoo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Savannah Cooper. I'm a writer and poet living in Williamsport, Maryland. And as far as what I'm reading right now, I've been kind of dipping in and out of the poems of Billy Collins. Just always enjoy getting into his work, especially his nature imagery. The piece I will be reading today is called Tattoo. I want my life to be a poem, I said when I was 16. Not knowing what I meant, thinking I would die before 25 because how could I grow old? How could I live long enough to know anything? So tired already and so exhausted by every day and every sideways glance, I thought 23 is enough. And here I am approaching 32, and I want my life to be a poem, every moment invested with meaning, whispering of greater depths. Or I want my life to be a tattoo, sketched in detail, pored over, dreamed of, something I can trace with a finger on my arm when feeling empty. An image in black on the skin that makes me look a little more like the person I hold inside. I want my life to be a blossoming tree in the spring, buds giving way to flowers, petals scattering in the wind, landing on the grass, the dirt, the dog shit, the garbage can, touching everything, a little bit of color, a little bit of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah. I always am amazed with the imagery, the contrast, all of it within your poem. to have something look a little bit like what we hold inside. Beautiful. So to wrap up our Awaken reading, we're going to have Claire Taylor read another poem about depression.
Right. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I had to switch rooms halfway through because everything was going out. So I'm hoping that my wireless will hold out through this. So I'm Claire Taylor. I live in Baltimore. As far as what I'm reading, I have not been reading much lately, apart from like picture books about starting kindergarten, because my son just started kindergarten. It's been a big transition. And then kind of in between that, I've read a little bit here and there from Maggie Smith's poetry collection, Goldenrod. So kind of dipping in and out of that as needed. So yeah, this poem, another poem about depression, is fairly self-explanatory, as you'll see when I read it, but good for this time of year as we transition kind of out of summer and towards fall. I am kind of one of those slightly rarer depressives who is more depressed in the summer than at any other time of year, and tend to find a little bit of a lift, a lightness, and an awakening as the weather starts to shift and the fall season starts to kind of slowly present itself. So that's where this is coming from. All right. Another poem about depression, or perhaps this one is about healing. Autumn arriving bit by bit, the cool morning dancing through the trees, while honeyed dawn spills across your bare shoulders and our crumpled bed sheets. The breeze through the open window makes me shiver as I recall the many times you held my face to yours, look at me, but I was already gone. Now, I put one foot to the carpeted floor, then the other without effort, go downstairs to start the coffee, greet the day like it might hold something I'm meant to see.
Thank you, Claire. I love ending the series with that poem, and that was the last poem that we published through the series because, yes, it is another poem about depression, but it's also a poem about so much more. It's about hope, about feeling everything within our lives, because there will no doubt be the downs, the misery, the heartache, and the autumn coming, the beauty, the joy, all of it. And I want to extend a warm thank you to all of our readers, all of our writers who submitted to Awaken and who are published, and to our audience who read all of the series. We could not have done it without you. It really turned out to be a beautiful endeavor that I think is going to be a really welcome addition to Yellow Arrow. And so thank you all for joining me today and for taking the time to listen to one another. I think that the written word and sharing that is so powerful. So thank you for taking time to do this and share your words with us and this community.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, that's all we have for today. And keep looking into further Yellow Arrow ventures. Right now, we have our fall journal submissions are open. The theme is Peregrine, wandering, and that should be open till the end of the month, till September 30th. And I hope all of you guys have a beautiful rest of your evening and enjoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.